Why this conference is in English rather than Tamil? It can be in Tamil because you've seen the Dravidian movement vouched for Tamil ethnicity. It's because of one man, Peraranga Anna, where Tamil Nadu stands for two-language policy. When the union government made a huge pressure that Hindi should be the official language, one man rose to say that if Hindi is being the official language of the country, the non-Hindi speaking states will be considered as second-class citizens. And there was a huge protest in Tamil Nadu in the year 1965. A lot of student populations were killed by the establishment. But Perarangana fought hard, and when he came to power in 1967, he formulated a two-language policy from Tamil Nadu state. When he brought in the policy, there was huge criticism. Come on, you are depriving the Tamil Nadu state students of learning Hindi. Anna clearly said, language can be learned, but we are against imposition of Hindi, not to the learning of Hindi. Our students will talk to their mother, will talk to their kith and kin in Tamil, but our students will communicate to the world in English rather than Hindi. So English is a much more bigger door for the dog to enter rather than a small door within the big door is Hindi. Now after 50 years, now I see people from this part of the country moving abroad as engineers, doctors, and scientists. Now I feel the brothers from a Hindi heartland coming to our state as doctors, engineers. No. They come as class 4, class 3 laborers. So who won at the last? The two-language policy of Anna won, and showing the world that South India is a much more progressive state in all spheres rather than the Hindi heartland. So which policy won? The three-language policy of the union government or the two-language policy of Tamil Nadu? So I'm here standing as your representative from the medical fraternity to have a symposium on English to celebrate Anna's success in two-language policy. Is it fine, friends? So here am I today talking about the social justice program. What is social justice? See, I find you have been imposed here to sit in this symposium. You have been compelled to sit in this symposium because the management warrants it. But I'm using that potential to put some views into your mind. My views may be paradoxical. My views may be antagonistic of your views. My views will be completely diametrically opposite as yours, as your value stream compared to value stream. But my request is, at the end of my talk, you take what is rational to your mind. You take what is truth to your mind. Then you decide upon yourself. That is what Thandai Periyar taught us. That was Thandai Periyar's teaching is. And that is what Buddha teaching is. So you rationalize your mind to take up the certain vital issues here into your personified thing. Okay? With that note, I proudly call myself as a doctor benefited by reservation. I entered into Madras Medical College as an undergraduate student due to reservation. I finished my MBBS and I competed for my postgraduate entrance exam for my MD. I got my postgraduate program in Madras Medical College through reservation. I proudly stand here as a product of affirmative action, not by benevolence, not by the concept of merit. I stand here before you to the reservation policy given by Dr. Kalaignar to me. And I had an opportunity to treat that legend, the same legend who gave me reservation policy to become a doctor. So I see reservation as a matter of right I see reservation here as a wrongdoing concept. No, we have to do the right doing concept for the historical injustice done. Whenever we talk about reservation, among students, right, people talk about merit. Come on, guy, a depressed class, SC girl, or scheduled tribe, your score is around 3 marks lower than me. How come you get a seat and not me? Isn't it injustice? For a BC guy, 1 mark or 0.5 mark less than the open category comes and says, hey, come on, guy, you are all reserved candidates. How come you are being allowed to? You have instances where a scheduled tribe doctor has been insulted in a northern medical colleges and she committed suicide. We have instances, many doctors coming out of reservation policies in our studying in All Indian Institute of Medical Science, be ridiculed, victimized by their own professors. There's a huge committee report, known as Thorough Committee report, which reports caste prejudices in medical classrooms, where reserves candidates have been ridiculed, questioned, insulted before a common crowd by the so-called value of merit. So if it's so, let me take you to a very sensitive reservation policy which has been adopted in our country. Let us go to a slide. Okay, you know that we all worship, say India is a land of temples, right? So I'm not going into the belief system of yourself. Each one has a individual, each one has his own belief system. It's a personal affair, right? Any godly affair with you is a personal affair. It's not a public affair. But when it comes to assets, it becomes a public affair. When it comes to worship, it's a personal affair. But when it comes to assets, it's a public affair because people are involved. Your belief system has been churned into assets. So let us assume that in our country, we have a lot of huge amount of temple assets. Next slide. So statistically, if we take, our country has more than 10 lakhs temples, approximately. This PowerPoint was given by my Maharashtra doctor friend who belongs to the Ambedkarite movement. He shared me this PowerPoint, so I thought I'll share to you. So there are, before, previous slide please. So there are 3 types. We have big temples like Tirupati, Sabarimala. We have medium-sized temples. We have small family-owned temples. Then we have the roadside temples, right? So I'm just cutting off 50% of it, okay? Out of 10 lakh, I'm just cutting out 50%. So let us assume there are 5 lakh temples, okay? Now next slide. So what are the revenue to a temple? In the form of bandhas, the boxes of collections of money, prasadams, we have early festivals, we have offerings to the god in the form of oil, ghee, ornaments in gold by major donors. We have ceremonies like marriages and various type of functions happening. We have got huge income from the tourists, various aspects, taking photographs, and priests get their money in the form of dakshins, right? So if you're going to summate every revenue, right? Next slide. It can be lakhs for a big temple or close to a big temple. Or it can be few thousand rupees to a small size temple, right? So we'll make it as an average, say a day collection, on a modest day collection, an average of rupees 2,000 per day. So imagine 365 days, number of temples around 5 lakh. What is the quantum of money generated there? Friends, could you see that? How much is that? See, 36,500 crores collection is being made. So for how many years? Next slide, please. Next slide, next slide. Previous. So 36,500 years, 36,500 crores for 2,000 years. There's no reservation policy within the temple. But there is reservation policy in the temple. There's 100% reservation policy to given to one particular community. Is that merit? Purely based on birth. When our reserve students come to medical colleges, They have been victimized because of the birth, not by the action, not by the value, not by the education. Now I am giving a striking example of 36,500 crores whooping set of money going to a one priestly class for 2,500 of years without any merit, just by birth alone. Do we need social justice there, friends? Yes, it was Tamil Nadu, it was DMK government asked that all community people should become priests to establish social justice there. Nowhere else in India this reformation took place. Kerala has started now. Kerala has started now because of the progressive movements. It was Periyar who questioned this. You're talking about merit, reservation in a job and education for us. What about the social injustice going on inside your temples? So it was DMK government which is formulated. It was Kalaignar who formulated that we should need social justice scheme inside the temples. So all communities have the right to worship, all communities have the right to pray to the God, and all communities have the right to touch the inner sanctum. And that is Kalaignar. So I have given you an example for 2,500 years what's happening inside a temple and the response to us. Now I'm going to institutions, right? The next slide. Next slide. Okay, these are institutions. See, this data is given by Department of Public Administration. This data is from the 19 union government departments. You can see that, right? Railways, HRD Ministry, Cabinet Secretariat, and everything. So you see the representation from each and every community is there. Generalists, the forward communities, more than 70 years of independence, more than 70% of the job occupancies in UPSC, in President Secretariat, in Niti Aayog, in Cabinet Secretariat. Imagine the backward classes, they are representing less than 10%. Scheduled tribe, less than 5 to 10%. Scheduled caste, less than that. This has been happening for the past 70 years in union government institutions, right? Next slide. Now, our taxpayers' money in IITs and IIMs, you see, the percentage of forward communities is 70%, OBC community is 2.6, SC/ST committee 0.8 and 0.2. See the faculty there, 81% belonging to forward communities, OBC is 5.44, SC community is 2.23, and ST community is ST, 0.31. Recently, if you read your newspapers, if you are politically aware, see my friends, doctor friends, as my medical fraternity friends, we should be politically aware what's happening around because we are the ones we are interacting with the people, right? We can't be shutting the doors just with our medical knowledge alone. Since we are engaging with the community, we should know what's happening outside. Recently, have you heard about the Bihar census, caste census? Anyone could raise a hand who all saw the caste census released by Nitish Kumar? Great, man. Great, great. Who are you? Where? Superb. Ladies? Excellent. What was the data of the caste census? 83% of the population belongs to OBC and SC/ST population. 17% belongs to forward communities. Now I'm giving you data. In one area, 100% reservation for them. In institutions like IIT and IIM, see 33% of the population representing more than 81% and more than 70%. So any institutions, any community institutions should represent the community outside. Then only the justice will be delivered. Appropriate justice will be delivered. You can't shut the doors for the backward classes in the name of caste, in the name of merit, and keep them out. So the Indian development story will be limited only to the upper one segment. What about the lower two-thirds segment who are being deprived? The next slide. These are the various posts in IIMs. Out of 699 posts, 545 posts belong to the 3 to 4% of the population, the upper caste. Imagine the 83 junk, 10 and 3. Next slide. This is about the Supreme Court, the court which gives us judgments. Imagine there was a very good study by Mark Galanter. He analyzed the judgments given by the Supreme Court. Are they judges are giving judgment based on law or justice or by their ancestral traditions? The Mark Galanter, who's a law specialist, he gave that 78% of the judgments given by our Supreme Courts is based upon their ancestral traditions, not by the law, not by the justice. You know why? See the caste composition there. Out of the 33 judges, 28 judges belong to forward communities. So any judgment regarding reformation, affirmative action, reservation will be struck down. And that's what happening for the past 73 years. Now Supreme Court, any reservation policy goes to them. No, they say, give me some quantifiable data. Then at one end, for quantifiable data, when we are developing the caste-based census, they'll say no, because that will lead to communal problems. Our Bihar caste-based census broke that, exposed them, stating that, yes, we have a quantifiable data. But Supreme Court will say yes to 10% upper caste reservation. They'll say no to OBC reservation, SC, ST reservation. You know why? Because of this composition. These type of information will be very mind-blowing to you, or maybe antagonistic to you. That's what in the first disclaimer of my speech I told you, I'm just opening up your mind to learn to the other spectra there. Next slide. This is about the private institutions, right? All the private institutions, media boards, where the representation of the various communities you can see, 92.6% of the corporate Indian boards, as well as the press index, belong to the forward caste. So what type of narrative they set in? So if you read all your English newspapers, they speak against reservation. They speak against giving affirmative action. They set the narrative. It will be mind-blowing to say a student or medical college student or an engineering student belonging to an upper caste community coming into the system, they'll talk the narrative as if reservation is against merit. You know why? Because of peer group. They feel inferior. They feel very odd because they feel that, oh, I'm out of reservation. Some type of benevolence is given to me. Oh, they talk about merit, about equality and all this stuff. So I'll be treated as inferior. So those type of complexes will make them speak against reservation. So now I'm going to narrate the success story in Tamil Nadu. How Tamil Nadu evolved, how Tamil Nadu progressed in reservation policy. See, if the various indices, what Arasu sir told and what Kanimuri ma'am is going to speak, is because of the foundation laid by our forefathers due to reservation policy in Tamil Nadu. See, simple, we'll make it very simple, man. I'll go to two studies. One is the Michigan case study in US and affirmative action study in South Africa. You know, in US, there's a racial discrimination, blacks and whites. So one ruling, Supreme Court ruling in US said that all our private companies should shut down affirmative action because they are giving representation to colored race for their participation, even for the migrant population in US. When people like us go to US, we are a migrant population, a colored race. And any institution should represent the entire representative of the country. So all this, Google, then Microsoft came and joined the Supreme Court that we need affirmative action policy in our institutions because the work output, the research output is much more stronger when the entire community of the institution represents the composition of the community. That is a study given by Microsoft. In South Africa, they have a very strong affirmative policy that encouraging reserved 33 to 40% or even 50% to the inherent sons of the soil for all the multinational companies who come and invest there. They have seen huge amount of success rate. Now Australia is falling for this Aboriginal population. So when the world works for ethnicity, ethnic representation, affirmative action, in our country, we still face a resistance. We still face a resistance to follow this policy, which is the discrimination which has been followed for 2,500 years. So why does affirmative action? It's a reaction for the sin committed, right? If you have a discrimination based on birth, when you have a graded hierarchy system, few people as upper class, few people as BC, few people of MBC and ST, the discrimination which has been followed for 2,500 years, we have to undo that. So we have to give incentive programs in order to nullify this inequality. And that is affirmative action, and that is a success formula in Tamil Nadu. So here, if you take Uttar Pradesh, it had around 10 prime ministers for the country. If you take all the 5 North Indian states, they had 5 perennial rivers to have the agriculture. Tamil Nadu per capita income was very low. In the year 1960s, it was equivalent to Bihar. But we don't have any major chief minister, prime ministers to represent our state. Or the union government 5-year plan didn't give much to Tamil Nadu. We are still fighting for Kaveri to the neighboring state. But how did this state improve? How come this state was increased in gross enrollment ratio? See, gross enrollment ratio is number of students of 12th standard joining colleges is above USA in Tamil Nadu. US just 48, Tamil Nadu is 51. How it's possible? How it's possible? Tamil Nadu has highest number of gross enrollment ratio, students, women students joining colleges. If you go to any other state, similar type of auditorium, doctors or medical professionals, or nursing or allied health, 90% will be belonging to the upper caste community. Only 10% will be belong to backward classes. I bet in this arena, the ratio will be reversed. 90% will be from backward classes and scheduled class and scheduled tribes. Only 10% will be from the forward caste. This hall is a representation of success formula, the Dravidian formula of Dr. Kalaignar. What he did? He said, come on guys, now BR is just now releasing a caste-based census. But Tamil Nadu, Dr. Kalaignar has formulated the various ways to incorporate in education, in jobs, in government sector, the reservation policy. See, 71 to 76, when Kalaignar was the chief minister, he developed something called Sattanathan Commission. He increased backward class representation from 25 to 31%. He increased SC population from 16 to 18%. That turned out. Later, in 96 to 2001, Dr. Kalaignar started something called rural quota. He developed something called SC rural. Rural means 10 dimensions. First generation doctor should be a rural community, should have studied in a government school till from 6th standard to 12th standard. They'll be given special incentives to come into colleges, to come into jobs. Rural quota was established. In 89, he gave an inner reservation. Among BCs, he carved out something called MBCs. In 2011, he developed something called Arundandiya reservation for scheduled caste and inner reservation. He gave 1% reservation for scheduled tribes. He made women reservation as 33% in government sector job provision as well as institutions. He gave various incentive programs, various quiz competitions, right? I was happy to see the quick answers from the medicos here, as well as allied health professionals and nurses here, because you are able to know various types of programs given in this Dravidian model to encourage all laboring class to get into service sector. If you take the parent milieu of this segment of the first generation, second generation, you will be the first generation doctor here, or a maximum second generation. How it is possible? Because of these various incentive programs given by Kalaignar to nurture into this education. I'll quote one small example, man. Simple one example about the impact of reservation policy. You know what they say, that Seyyum Thalile Deivam. They say whatever work you do is worship. That is good for a doctor or a nurse or a white collar job. Imagine it will be good for a manual scavenger. Seyyum Tozhile Devam will be applied to a manual scavenger. It is based on one caste. One caste is been imposed for 2,500 years to do manual scavenging. If you have happened to travel in railways, in 80s and 90s, when you defecate or when you urinate, it gets collected in the track down. Who are the people involved in cleaning those tracks? That's a segment of population which is known as Arundanthiyar population or Sakliya population or Adhyandra population, who's been stamped for 2,500 years to do that job because it is entrusted upon by birth. That's what Sanatana Dharma says, that's what Manu Dharma says. That is, the Dharma is static. It means that each one is ascertained a job and you shouldn't deviate from it. For a white collar job, for a teacher job, for a pujari job, it's good. But what happened to the menial labor collar jobs? It's been entrusted, imposed upon. So what Kalaigar didn't know, if you see what all the medical colleges, government medical colleges, if you see the toilets, it will be in a pathetic situation. The toilets in government institution. Who will clean those toilets? This is Andhyadra people. For generations together. So Kalaigar, what he did, how long your generation should be as toilet cleaners in medical college hospitals? Impossible. So Kalaigar gave 3% reservation for Arundanthiyars. He changed the toilet cleaning population of each and every medical colleges into doctor population, man. What a phenomenal revolution. Anywhere in the part of the world, I will challenge. Per year, around 1,400 to 1,500 doctors, engineers are coming out from that one segment. For 2,000 years, they've been involved in manual scavenging and toilet cleaning. Now they have become medical college professors' family, associated professors' family, dean's family. That flip happened because of what? That flip happens because of the reservation policy of Tamil Nadu. That's a reservation policy of Dr. Kalaigar. In Tamil Nadu, the scheduled tribe population is very less when compared to northeastern states. Just 0.2 or 0.3. But Kalaigar gave 1% reservation for scheduled tribes. You know how many about engineers, doctors, IAS officers, IPS officers are formed because of there'll be tree cutting population in forest areas. Or there have been forest dwellers. He introduced 1% reservation. That churned out. That flipped. So all the incentive programs given for most backward classes, scheduled class, scheduled tribe, changes them from their ancestral jobs, which have been imposed on them, menial jobs, which has been imposed on them, agricultural laborers, cobblers, all the peddlers, they have been shifted to service sector as IT professionals, as software engineers, as doctors and nurses, because of the Dravidian policy of Dr. Kalaigar implemented in government sector. So my friends, understand, anyone who talks against reservation speaks against the social justice or speaks against the social formula of their country. Anyone who talks against affirmative action as a selfish motive on the name of merit, that only one few segment population should be studied. So, typical example, I'll give you AIMS, man. You know All India Institute of Medical AIMS? It was started in the year 1950s, 1960s in Delhi. AIMS is successful only in Delhi. Rest of the AIMS are a flop. It's worse than any other institution. Only in Delhi because 750 crores per year is being given to one institute. There was no reservation policy in AIMS till 2006. Till 2006, there was no reservation policy. They had something called institution quota. UG, if you are AIMS, you'll get 30% of seats in PG. Because to accommodate one group of people alone. You know what is the percentage of people? 58% of All India Institute of Medical Science products are not in India, man. They are serving UK and USL system. But in Tamil Nadu, it's reverse. Kalaigar had a formula of delivering medicine or healthcare to the sons of the soil by making the sons of the soil as doctors. That's the best way to do it, isn't it? All the union government are searching their heads to deliver rural healthcare. But Kalaigar developed rural healthcare by making rural people as doctors. Because of this draconian exam called NEET, which is entrance based, father is a laborer who can't afford NEET coaching classes for 1 year, 2 year, and 3rd year. On 12th, the score was a cutoff for 200, it was more than 198. Should have become a doctor in Kilpauk Medical College or Kadalur Medical College. But because of the draconian exam called NEET, you eliminated her. You eliminated the milieu of Anitas. You eliminated the first generation doctors. You eliminated the generation of doctors who are economically deprived by a draconian exam called NEET. The Supreme Court didn't understand that. The Union government didn't understand that. But Tamil Nadu government understand that because we've seen huge success of doing away all the obstacles for the commoners to become doctors and engineers and nurses and parallied nurses. Now, Union government is now trying to block us by saying NEET is compulsory. And after that, they are going to 0 percentile now. At one point of time, dilution of merit is happening. No one questions that. Now we have a system called NMC suddenly says that Tamil Nadu enough, you can't start any more medical colleges anymore. NMC is given a notification. What's happening? We have our own success formula called affirmative action, reservation policy as a sign of development because we have the maximum number of entrepreneurs in Tamil Nadu belong to SC, ST and OBC communities. We have maximum number of women entrepreneurs because of Dr. Kalangar's initiative because he was the first chief minister in India who gave women the rights. What rights? The rights of having property was given by Dr. Kalangar. Never happened in any part of this country. It was Kalangar who gave that property rights so that you can become an owner. You can own a land. So that type of gender justice evolved. So my friends, today I have just opened up a door. The success formula of reservation policy. I gave you examples of the success formula of Tamil Nadu. What this country has to follow. I gave you certain examples where hegemony, caste hierarchical system, caste prejudice is speaking about this affirmative action. So you should have a Dravidian insight into the social justice program of Tamil Nadu. Thank you.